Good Chair. I'd just like to thank you all for your comprehensive briefing there this morning. And certainly it's raised many questions and you know, in terms of pushing forward and promoting our STEM subjects. I suppose the first thing I want to mention is Mr. Gormley mentioned the VEX robotics competition, and I want to concur with that. I know in County Offaly, in my own constituency, this was very much promoted. The local authority, Offaly County Council, had a huge role in it, and I want to commend the staff and Ray Bell. It was a huge success. I know that 1,500 students actually participated in 60 schools last year alone. So that's phenomenal, and there's no doubt about it, but it's positive. But my question is, do we have any data or any evaluation report done that shows that this positivity and this progress in the area of STEM, in terms of a competition like VEX robotics, that it's paying off and that it's shown that there's benefits in terms of more students, female students in particular, taking up STEM subjects in ETB schools? Because it is the senior end of the primary school that's very much focused on with this robotics competition. So what I would expect is that there is more of a shift towards the STEM subjects then when these students go into second level. I would expect that, but that's only an assumption. But do we have any data or an evaluation report? I would like to see the robotics competition pushed out further and extended. I would like to see the junior end of the school also, because it's such a success. I think it would be a pity not to push it out and promote it even more. And that's my question, Mr. Gormley, for yourself.
Yeah, well, just in terms of ad hoc figures, in Donegal ETB, we 15 post-primary schools. 5 of them now are studying computer science at Leaving Cert level, and that just doesn't happen. There has to be a culture, and it has to happen down in the lower years at the junior cycle in terms of coding, digital technology. It has to happen with subjects like engineering, wood technology, applied technology. You know, they're the students who are studying those subjects are feeding the senior cycle then. So you have to have it at the junior cycle in order to feed the senior cycle. But there's just some figures there. 15 post-primary schools, 5 of them now are offering computer science at Leaving Cert. So, you know, it obviously is having an effect there. And the schools competing in the competition you referred to there, the VEX robotics, they are the schools that are running the computer science then, and they have the links with the local Atlantic Technological University, who are providing the CPD for the teachers to deliver it at senior cycle. So there's a very strong link there, and that's just an example of something that's happening there. There's also then progression routes in terms of the further education and training space for STEM subjects in terms of the post-leaving certificate courses and traineeships. And we're looking at the minute about the laboratory technician course, for example, the nursing studies, and we're also looking at engineering, providing the first year of those degrees within the ETB, and then progressing to the university. So it's another way of getting, you know, people involved in STEM that might not necessarily have the points initially. So it's just another initiative to try to increase participation at that level.
Thanks very much. In relation to my next question for Mr. Curtis, I'm just wondering, you mentioned the career guidance teachers who play a great role in our schools and a very important role, but how can they be supported to promote the STEM subjects even more than they are currently doing? And I know they are, but more needs to be done in terms of the supports that are needed.
I think we can get the supports in place. Sometimes it's just about putting the emphasis on something. So if we put the emphasis on STEM nationally, say through IDA, through CPD, and we will get the guidance counsellors to engage more in that space for us. But they are key and they are crucial. So I'm not that worried about getting the information to them or prompting them to get into this sphere. I think there's good documentation there, there's good research. If you go back to the STEM Education Report 2020, it shows that things are changing at school level, that more and more girls especially are taking up the STEM subjects. As I said, we do need to recalibrate at school level, and this is a prompt for us, I suppose, to talk to our schools and talk to the department about getting a new impetus for this. But an awful lot of it is about time. And I mentioned the fact that, like, people have aptitudes at school level. Like, if you're a 12 or 13-year-old in school, who Who spots your aptitudes? Who can say to you, do you know what, you might be good in this sphere? You need somebody like a guidance counsellor, someone with a little bit of time, that we're not too tied up in teaching. We have an endemic problem in second level education at the moment. There's no easy answer to it. We can't decrease the pupil-teacher ratio because we don't have the teachers to fill the gaps. But over time, we need to come up with a systemic approach whereby we do need to change the pupil-teacher ratio. We've done some work with it in primary schools. And I think if we do that in a planned manner, it'll help in all number of spheres. It'll help with the STEM subjects. It'll help maybe with allowing us to have a few more guidance teachers in school. So, as I said, it's about the time, and even principals. It's about resources in school that allows the leaders in schools, the guidance counsellors, to talk to the children, to talk to them about their strengths and weaknesses, to talk to them about the possibilities and the new possibilities that are emerging in such as the STEM areas.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I think if there were more resources and more career guidance teachers, there's not enough of them, and every child has their, their strengths, and in order to reach those students, the only thing to do is to increase resources. So I fully agree with you, and certainly I'm very supportive of it because it is something I have called for in the past.
Yeah, no, so thanks very much, Deputy. And I suppose it is something that I'm acutely aware of it now after coming through COVID, because I'm seeing it at the school level, and it's this anxiety that we have there. The more we can support the students at this time, the more time we can allocate to them and to help them. As I said, number one, we're coming through COVID, and number two, just to recalibrate, refresh, reframe.
Yeah, absolutely. And my final question, Chair, if I have any time left, Mr. Irwin, I just wanted to ask you about what approaches do you think should be used in the area of problem solving? I was a teacher myself for 12 years, and I could honestly say that this was always an area that many students had difficulty with, even students that were quite positive towards maths. And we had strategies in the teacher training colleges, such as, reading the problem 3 times and underlining the key words and all of the rest of it. But it still is an issue, I would certainly feel, with many children.
Yeah, and I'm a qualified maths teacher. That's where I started in education as well. But I would say that, and I would have to probably admit I was a little bit sceptical when Project Maths came in first. But once we became far more engaged with it, the whole approach in Project Maths and the approach to, rather than looking at it as an individual pursuit, but looking at it more in a collaborative format with the students in the school and more in the class and more teamwork in it, is far more beneficial. And I would have to say the emphasis taken in Project Maths is far more towards, rather than just content, but understanding. Yeah. I know when I would have done higher level maths myself as a student, I learned an awful lot of tricks on how to do different things. I could integrate, differentiate, but I mightn't have known why I was doing it. While now the emphasis is more on understanding why. And the why is asked a hell of a lot more. So I think that focus on the curriculum is the first thing that had to change, and it has changed. And I think that is only for the good. I think the methodologies that have been promoted through JCT and through the Project Maths teams, who really provided a high standard of training at that particular time at the introduction, and it should be ongoing for all teachers at the moment, is really, people must embrace that fully and must take on board and try and divert from the whole idea that in maths you had the brilliant maths teacher who knew all and presented all to the class and they just listened and were basically passive, to active participants and engage in teamwork and working together to try and self-direct their learning to a degree where they're the ones who are actually teasing out the problems and trying to raise the solutions rather than just it being a presentation all the time. And that emphasis has changed, and I think we will see, I genuinely believe, Deputy Nolan, we will see improvements in that particular area.
Great, thanks very much.
Just sorry, Chair. Yeah, just one comment to Deputy Nolan again. Yeah, John's right there in terms of understanding, but it takes longer, the process within the classroom. And one of the things we're hearing back from teachers is that the course is too long, particularly at higher level, because if you're involved with group work and you're trying to, get an in-depth understanding to some of the concepts John mentioned there around integration and differentiation and rates of change, you really need to take time with students. And because of the amount of content in there, teachers are reporting back that they find it very, very difficult to get the course covered. So that's just a comment in relation to that.